Okay, section 5. So the first theorem in section 5 is called the side splitter theorem. According to the side splitter theorem, if a line is parallel to one side of a triangle and intersects the other two sides, then it divides those sides proportionally. So basically, the ratio of XR over RQ is going to be equal to the ratio of YS to SQ. So essentially what this means is, let's give an example. If this little piece right here, XR is 2, and RQ is, say, 3, or let's say it's 4 to make it easier. Then maybe we know this piece is 3. So because this piece is double the little piece, then that means that this green piece is going to be double this little piece. And that way the ratio of XR to RQ, or 2 over 4, would be equal to the ratio of YS over SQ. So they would both be a half. So let's apply that to this first example. So in the first example, we are trying to find x. So in order to find x, we need to set up a proportion. So we're going to take x plus 1, put that on top, over 12. Okay, so if we put x plus 1 over 12, that will be equal to x over 9. So once we set up the proportion, we can just cross multiply to solve. So we'll multiply 9 times x plus 1 and 12 times x. If we distribute, we get 9x plus 9 equals 12x. Then we would subtract 9x and get 9 equals 3x, which means if we divide, x equals 3. We could check this by plugging everything back in. So if I plug 3 back in here, I get 3. If I put 3 back in here, I get 4. So if we check the ratio, this piece is 3 times this piece, and this piece is 3 times this piece. So that's good. That means we did it right because they're in the same ratio. Or 4 over 12 is equal to 3 over 9, because both of these simplify to 1 over 3. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, try the U-try, and then I'll go over it. Okay, so one proportion that we could set up would be A over A plus 4 equals 12 over 18. Okay, and then if we cross multiply, A times 18 is 18A. 12 times A plus 4 is 12 times A plus 4. Let's distribute and get 12A plus 48. And then subtract 12A, so that gives me 6A. If we divide by 6, we get A equals 8. Ta-da. Okay, the next theorem is a corollary to the side splitter theorem. So basically, in the side splitter theorem, we're talking about a triangle. Well, the corollary says that this will apply to any situation where we have parallel lines intersecting opposite sides of transversals. So if 3 parallel lines, 1, 2, 3, intersect 2 transversals, these 2 guys right here, this one and this one, then the segments intercepted, so these guys, on the transversals are proportional. So again, let's say AB is 2 and BC is 6. Then if WX is 3, since 6 is 3 times 2, XY would have to be 3 times 3. Let's apply that corollary to this question right here. So it says complete the proportions. RS, so this is RS over something equals JR. So JR would be also pink. So JR over KJ. So KJ. Okay, so the segment that we would need to put underneath here would have to be KS. Okay, let's look at the next one. QL over PM equals SQ to what? So it's got to be JP. Okay, we have one more. So last one is KL, which is this entire piece here, over LW. So LW is equal to something over MW. So that's going to be this whole piece here, which is called KM. Three campsites are shown in the diagram. What is the length of site A along the river? So site A is this area right here, and this is the river over here. So we're looking for this distance right here, and we're going to set up a proportion to find out. So what we need is corresponding pieces. This would correspond with 8. So X and 8 could go right there in the proportion. And that would be these two values that we would put underneath each one of those. So X over 9 and then 8 over 7.2 could be a proportion that we use. Now if we so just so you know, another proportion we could use would be X over 8 equals 9 over 7.2. That's also a proportion that we could have used. You could also have flipped these guys around so that it says 9 over X equals 7.2 over 8. That's also fine. Okay, so there's a few different proportions. Now if we cross multiply, we get 7.2x equals 72. Now instead of doing division, just think, what do we need to multiply x by to get 72 over here? So basically what we need to do is we need to multiply by 10 so that this decimal place moves over. So x has to be 10. And that's the length of site A. So there you go. And then if there's units, there are, so we want to put the units, so 10 yards. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try the U-try. Okay, let's go over this. So I have a few different proportions I could set up, so I'll write a few of them down. So we can do 4 over x equals 6 over 5. We could do 4 over 6 equals x over 5. We can do 5 over x equals 6 over 4. We could do 5 over 6 equals x over 4. Okay, so no matter how we set up this proportion, we're going to wind up multiplying 5 and 4 together and then setting that equal to 6x. So So if you look, all of them do that. The means and the extremes are the same. Now if we solve this, we would need to divide by 6. 6 doesn't go into 20, so we just want to simplify that. So 20 over 6, if you divide by 2, that simplifies to 10/3, and we can just leave it as an improper fraction. We have one more theorem left, the triangle angle bisector theorem. It also says that we're going to get a proportional situation here. So it says if a ray bisects an angle of a triangle, then it divides the opposite sides of the two segments, the opposite side into two segments that are proportional to the other two sides of the triangle. So this ratio and this ratio will be the same. So applying the triangle angle bisector theorem, we have 18 and 10, and we also have 12 and x. So let's set up a proportion using those numbers. So the ratio of 10 over 12 is going to be equal to the ratio of 18 over x. If we solve that, we get 10x equals 12 times 18, and 12 times 18 is 216. And if we divide by 10, I can simply move the decimal place over 1, so I'd get 21.6. You could also just simplify this, so you could also simplify 216 over 10 by dividing by 2, and that would give you 108 over 5. So I'd also take 108 over 5. Okay, pause the video and try the U-try. Okay, so U-try. We have y over 9.6 equals 24 over 16. Cross multiplying, we get 16y equals 24 times 9.6. So 24 times 9.6 is 230.4. I'm using a calculator, so I'm cheating a little bit here. And then if we divide by 16, we get 14.4. Okay. Last question. So the last question is going to be a little bit harder because there's a bunch of x's everywhere. So we'll still set up a proportion similar to the other ones, but when we solve it'll be a little bit more difficult. So I can put 7x over 5x, and if I do that, I need to put 10x minus 4 over 6x. Now cross multiplying, 7x times 6x is 42x squared. 5x times 10x minus 4, we would need to distribute. That would give us 50x minus 20x. Sorry, 50x squared minus 20x. Now, remember I said if you have quadratic, meaning x squared, terms, we need to get everything over to one side. So I'm going to subtract 42x squared. So this is set equal to 0. Now, in order to solve this, we're going to factor, but we're not going to factor like we factored yesterday with the trinomial. We're just going to take out a greatest common factor. So a number that these two terms divide, so 4, and then a letter that these two terms divide, so x. Now, if I divide 8x squared by 4x, I'm left with 2x. And if I divide 20x by 4x, I get 5. So if you look, if I were to distribute 4x into this difference, I would get my original 8x squared minus 20x. So basically what we did was distribution backwards. Now, after I factor, I set the two factors equal to 0. Then I solve. So to solve this one, all I do is just divide by 4, and I get x equals 0. To solve this one, I need to add 5 and then divide by 2. You can write that either as 2.5 or 5 over 2. Now, sometimes when we get two solutions in geometry, one of them won't make sense. So for example, if we take a look at x equals 0, if we were to plug this back in here, that would give us a side with a length of 0. If we plug it back in here, that would give us a side of length -4. Now, neither one of those makes sense. You can't have a side with length 0 or the side wouldn't exist. So this is not a valid solution. So we're just going to accept this one and cancel that one out because that doesn't make any sense. Okay, that's the notes for section 5. So go ahead and look at the practice quiz, get with a partner, and see if you can complete the practice quiz. And I will also post the answers to the practice quiz on the lesson plan. So take a look at those when you're done. All right, thanks. Bye.